So what I wanted to say was, there are so many things in this book that I think are so important. It hits such a demographic. It describes something that I think so many people suffer with today. And I was thinking about this, that if you were to ask someone who was coming into my office for the first time, why are you here? They might say, I'm worried I'm an alcoholic, or I'm depressed, or my father was an asshole. But what I think so many people really suffer with today is this thing that we could call, I feel like shit and I don't know why. And feeling like shit and not knowing why is a hallmark of trauma. I was talking to a patient of mine about this whole event earlier this week, and I said, I'm going to be saying something, and he said, what do you want to talk about? And I said, feeling awful and not knowing why. He said, oh my God, yeah, that was me. He said, that was me, and it is terrifying, because feeling like shit and not knowing why, it is terrifying. So, for example, if I tweak my back at the gym, and then I wake up the next day and I'm in a ton of pain, I feel awful, but I know it's from this tweak at the gym. Or if I have a meeting coming up at work and I'm dreading this meeting and I'm just bleh, I wake up feeling bleh, but I know it's from this meeting coming up at work. But if I'm feeling, whether it's anxious or depressed or hopeless, and I look around and I don't see anything that I think should be causing those feelings, and then I look inside and again find nothing, that's when real terror can set in, or hopelessness or helplessness, because I'm not seeing anything, I'm not aware of the cause. And so therefore it feels like these feelings are just going to go on forever. There's a great line in this, there's this great line in this book where he says, I'm going to make sure I get it right, the majority of human suffering can be related to love and loss. And I love this line because, sort of like Einstein said, things should be made as simple as possible and never simpler. And this line is so simple and so dead on, because another way that we can describe this idea of loss is the absence of something. And it can be really difficult to get someone to truly understand, to see and understand the power of the absence of something. When the most harmful thing that's happened to someone in their life is actually not what happened to them, but what didn't happen to them. It can be really difficult to get them to buy into this idea of the absence of something. So something that I've believed for a long time is that we are all, readjust here, we are all born biologically needing to connect. And though this is something I've believed for a while, it actually got solidified for me on the day that my son was born. And so we're in the hospital, and the nurse tells us that from the moment one, if you take your finger and you stick it in the baby's mouth, they will start to suck. It's a inborn reflex, natural reflex. It doesn't have to be taught, which is good, because if it had to be taught, we'd never survive as a species. But the other natural reflex that I witnessed that day, from moment one, was the moment my son was born. If I put my finger in his hand, he did this. This too is a natural reflex, and this too does not need to be taught, because this is just as powerful as this. And if we don't get this in the way that we need it, this is the absence of something, and this is trauma, or specifically a type of trauma. And when that happens, two very painful beliefs can grow out of not getting this. And number one is that the reason I didn't get it is because I'm fundamentally flawed, because there is something broken in me deep down on what almost feels like a cellular level. Because of that, I didn't get this. And the other belief is that because I never got this, it means I'm never going to get it. And when that happens, trust can be almost impossible. And trust, in a really deep, visceral way, is kind of the soil for everything that we want in our lives. And there's a great line again, and this one I can't memorize because it's too long. But he said that being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health. Safe connections are fundamental to meaningful and satisfying lives. And that's why, for me, all of this is looking for, and it all grows out of this deep ability to trust. There's another line in here I wanted to read. And the other thing that I wanted to say about this idea of trust is that I've seen it happen with people that I've worked with, that when people really are, because it can feel impossible, but when people are really able to trust like this, and then like this, lives flourish. And so there's another line from this book that I want to read. It might sound like a non sequitur, but I don't think he's talking about one of his mentors. And he says, my great teacher had taught us to be skeptical about textbooks. And it's a little ironic because this book, in a way, is a textbook. And I'm not saying to be skeptical of this book at all. I think the book is fantastic. I think it's so important. It's why we're all here. But the reason, I don't think I need that anymore. The reason that I think what he's talking about is something that I will find myself talking to people every once in a while, and that is just this idea to be wary of experts. And the reason that I say this is that experts are always the last ones to know that more is possible. There's a quick story. There was a runner in the 1950s by the name of Roger Bannister. I don't know if maybe some of you know this story. In the 1950s, the experts said, the hard science was that it was physically impossible to break a 4-minute mile. It could not be done. No one could run that hard for that fast for that long. The hard science said it was impossible. And then, in 1954, Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. But what's amazing to me about this story is not that he just broke the 4-minute mile. What's amazing to me about this story is up until 1954, because the science said, the experts said it could not be done, it had never been done. Once Roger Bannister broke that 4-minute mile, it happened again. His record was broken 46 days later, and then it happened again and again and again. Since then, over 1,400 people have broken the 4-minute mile. This thing that was thought to be scientifically impossible is now commonplace. So there's a reason I throw this out there. There's a tendency, or what can happen is I know I've done it, when we read about trauma, when we learn about trauma, learn about the ways that we hurt or have been hurt, that we can use it as a ceiling to kind of say, this is as far as I can go, this is the most that I can do based on the pain that I've experienced, the life that I've had, I can't do anything more, and it's not true. We are capable of so much more than we know. I have seen it happen. So I guess I have an ask today. I have an ask. And my ask would be that with everything that we're talking about, everything that you're hearing today, to let it be a floor. Let it be something that you can stand on, that you stay rooted in, that will help ground you, but not a ceiling. Because you can break through the ceiling. I've seen it happen so many times, it's completely possible. And that's really all I had to say. Thank you. Okay. So I've never been here before, but this place is fantastic. So I just wanted to first say that thanks for doing this. It makes me want to do like a whole punk rock therapy tour. It's very, very cool. And then I just want to also thank Miles for including me in this. I'm very honored to be here. You have a motor, as I can tell from everybody here tonight. So that's, so fantastic.